Have you ever noticed a quiet, burning sense of embarrassment when someone asks you what is new in your life, and you have nothing loud or impressive to say? What if the shame you feel about the slow pace of your life is not a sign of failure, but a sign that you are measuring your soul with someone else's ruler? If you have ever felt left behind, anxious about your lack of progress, or embarrassed that your life feels too quiet, this is for you. Stay until the end, because the final lesson may change the way you see your quiet life forever. 1. The weight of feeling behind. Here is the truth few people want to face. The harder you try to force your life into a rigid timeline, the more you suffer. We live in a world that is completely obsessed with speed. We are told that motion equals meaning. We are conditioned to believe that if we are not constantly achieving, climbing, or showing the world our milestones, we are somehow failing. You look around and everyone else seems to be running. Promotions, grand adventures, relationships, public victories. And then you look at your own life. Perhaps your days are simple. Perhaps they are repetitive. Maybe you are just trying to heal, to breathe, or to simply exist without falling apart. And in the silence of your own room, a heavy thought arrives. I am not doing enough. I am falling behind. You feel a deep sense of embarrassment. You want to hide the quietness of your journey. You start apologizing for your life. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that much of our deep emotional suffering comes from our attachment to an illusion. In this case, the attachment is to an imaginary societal timeline. We suffer because we believe life is a race with a fixed destination, and that we are somehow arriving late. But in Buddhist thought, there is no behind, and there is no ahead. There is only where you are right now. The pressure you feel is not a truth. It is merely an expectation you have been carrying. Imagine a river flowing toward the massive ocean. Some rivers crash violently through steep canyons, making a deafening roar, churning with white water. Others wind slowly, silently through wide plains, barely making a sound as they move beneath the sun. The quiet river is not failing. It is not embarrassed by its gentle current. It is simply moving at the speed of its own landscape. Both rivers, eventually, reach the exact same ocean. Think about your own life. Think about the exhaustion of trying to keep up. When you are sitting at family gatherings or scrolling through social media, you might feel a knot in your chest because you do not have a loud, impressive story to tell. You think a quiet life is an empty life. You mistake peace for stagnation. You mistake a period of deep internal growth for a lack of external progress. Ask yourself, whose timeline are you really trying to meet? What are you afraid will happen if you accept the gentle, unhurried pace of your own existence? Is this thought bringing you peace? Or is it feeding your fear? Pause, breathe, observe this feeling of being behind without following it. Let the feeling of embarrassment rise without making it your identity. You do not have to chase a storm just to prove you are alive, because peace is not something you find by running faster. It is something you make space for when you stop running altogether. But letting go of the need for speed is only the first step. To truly accept your quiet life, you must look closely at the invisible clock you have been carrying. And this is where the next truth begins. 2. The illusion of the timeline. What if the clock you are racing against does not actually exist? Here is a truth that can instantly lift a heavy weight from your shoulders. Much of your anxiety is not caused by your life itself, but by an imaginary schedule you force your life to follow. We suffer because we believe life comes with a strict itinerary. By 25, you should know exactly who you are. By 30, your career should be firmly set. By 40, you should have everything figured out, wrapped neatly in a box of absolute stability. When these arbitrary dates pass, and your life still looks quiet, simple, or uncertain, a quiet panic sets in. You feel a burning shame. You feel as though you have missed the train, and now you are left standing alone on an empty platform. while everyone else travels toward their beautiful futures. But Buddhist wisdom reminds us that this timeline is nothing more than a shared illusion. It is a ghost of the mind. In Buddhist thought, the concept of time as a rigid, linear track to success is a trap. It is the ego's way of keeping you dissatisfied. The ego loves to measure. It loves to say, "I should be there by now." But true peace is found in the deep realization of presence. Suffering arises when we cling to an expected outcome and resist the reality of right now. When you attach your worth to a future milestone, you completely miss the quiet beauty of the life that is happening exactly where you stand. Imagine a seed planted deep within the cold earth. For weeks, sometimes months, nothing happens above the surface. To the outside world, it looks like nothing is being achieved. It looks like stagnation. But if you were to dig it up to check its progress, to force it onto your timeline, you would destroy its chance to grow. The seed does not panic in the dark. It does not feel embarrassed that the flowers nearby are already blooming in the sun. It does its silent work. It rests, it absorbs, and it trusts its own season. Think about your own life. How often do you punish yourself for still being in the dark? You look at others, celebrating loud victories, and you feel a quiet sting of failure. You tell yourself that your time has run out. You feel deeply ashamed of your slow progress, feeling completely invisible in a world that only praises speed. You forget that perhaps your roots are simply growing deeper before your branches can reach higher. Ask yourself, what imaginary deadline are you punishing yourself for missing? What if your life is not delayed, but simply unfolding exactly as it needs to? What expectations are you holding on to that were never really yours to begin with? Stop trying to force the door open. Breathe. Let go of the calendar in your mind. Observe your rushing thoughts without believing them. You are not a failure for taking a slower, quieter path. Because you cannot force a flower to bloom by pulling on its petals. You can only give it light and let it open when it is ready. But releasing the timeline is difficult when the world is constantly showing you what you lack. And this is where the next truth begins. Because beneath the pressure of time lies the deafening noise of other people's lives. 3. The noise of comparison. What if the life you are secretly judging yourself against is just an illusion carefully curated for the world? Here is a truth that is hard to swallow, yet entirely liberating. The tighter you hold on to the image of someone else's journey, the more you abandon your own. We live in a world of constant, deafening visibility. Everywhere you look, you are bombarded with the highlights of other people. You see their grand achievements, their flawless relationships, their loud and triumphant milestones. And then you look down at your own hands. You look at your simple routine, your quiet evenings, your small, unseen efforts just to get through the week. The heavy weight of comparison settles into your chest. You feel inadequate. You feel embarrassed that your life is not a spectacle. You begin to believe that because your life is quiet, it must be completely empty. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us that comparison is one of the most profound sources of human suffering because it roots us deeply in delusion. We suffer because we compare our internal, unedited reality with the polished, external projection of someone else. In Buddhism, to crave the path of another is to reject your own nature. It is a refusal of the present moment. The pain you feel is not because your life is wrong. The pain comes from the exhausting attempt to force your life to mirror someone else's karma, someone else's story. Imagine a clear, quiet lake surrounded by tall pines. When the water is still, it perfectly reflects the moon, the stars, and the vast night sky. It is peaceful, it is complete, exactly as it is. But imagine if the lake looked at the crashing, violent waves of the ocean and felt embarrassed by its own stillness. Imagine if it tried to churn its own waters, thrashing against its banks to create a loud storm. the lake would not become an ocean. It would only become muddy, chaotic, and completely unable to reflect the light. Comparison is the wind that disturbs your waters. It robs you of your natural clarity. Think about your own life. Think about the times you have sat alone, scrolling through a screen, watching old friends move rapidly through life. Think about the knot in your stomach when you feel you are falling behind. You forget that the images you see are not the whole truth. You forget that those who are running fast have their own hidden suffering, their own silent battles, their own quiet fears. You are judging your behind the scenes against their opening night. Ask yourself, who are you really trying to impress with your rushing? Is the loud, busy life you envy truly what your soul craves? Or is it simply what the world has taught you to want? What if your quietness is not a failure, but a deeply needed sanctuary? Pause. Breathe. When you feel the urge to measure your worth against someone else, stop. Put down the mirror of comparison. Let the feeling of inadequacy rise, and then watch it drift away like a cloud across an endless sky. Observe the thought without following it into the dark. You do not have to prove your worth by making a loud noise, because true peace is never found by becoming someone else. It is found by finally making peace with who and where you already are. But letting go of comparison is only part of the journey. To truly embrace a quiet life, you must look at the way you treat yourself when no one else is watching. And this is where the next truth begins. Because beneath the desire to keep up is a hidden violence we often commit against our own spirit. 4. The hidden violence of rushing. What if the desperate rush to reach the next chapter of your life is quietly destroying the one you are currently in? Here is a truth that is deeply uncomfortable to face. When we constantly force ourselves to hurry, we are committing a silent act of violence against our own spirit. We live in a state of perpetual urgency. You finish one task, and immediately your mind jumps to the next. You reach a small goal, and instead of resting, you quickly move the finish line further away. When your life naturally slows down, you feel a deep, unsettling guilt. You cannot simply sit on a quiet evening or look out the window without your mind screaming that you are wasting time. You treat your present life as a mere waiting room for a better, more successful future. You punish yourself for resting, treating your own mind and body like a failing machine that is simply not moving fast enough. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that this frantic rushing is rooted in profound suffering. It is a severe form of non-acceptance. In Buddhism, the principle of non-violence does not just apply to how we treat other living beings, it applies deeply to how we treat ourselves. When you rush, you are energetically rejecting the present moment. You are telling the universe that here and now is simply not good enough. This relentless craving for the future pulls you out of your actual existence, leaving you fractured, exhausted, and completely disconnected from the quiet reality of your own life. Imagine a handful of fine, dry sand. If you hold it gently in a relaxed, open palm, the sand rests peacefully. But if you panic, if you try to control and contain it by squeezing your fist as tightly as you can, the sand violently slips through your clenched fingers. The harder you squeeze, the more you lose. Your days are exactly like this sand. When you tightly grip your schedule, rushing intensely from one moment to the next, you do not gain more time. You simply crush the life out of the time you have, letting the present moment slip away completely unnoticed. Think about your own life. Think about how often you drink your morning tea while mentally fighting through the day's tasks. Think about how you rush through conversations, your mind elsewhere, just trying to get to the next item on your list. You carry a constant, vibrating anxiety in your chest, a fear that if you slow down, you will lose your edge, or the world will completely leave you behind. You feel embarrassed by a quiet weekend, absorbing the heavy pressure to always be producing, achieving, or improving. Ask yourself, where are you actually rushing to? What is the imaginary destination that will finally grant you permission to rest? What if you arrive at the end of this exhausting race, only to realize you missed the entire journey? Pause, breathe. Notice the tension in your jaw, the tightness in your shoulders. The next time you feel the frantic urge to rush through a simple, ordinary task, stop. Slow your movements down intentionally. Observe the thought that tells you to hurry without following it. Be completely where you are. You do not need to constantly fight against the natural pace of your own existence, not because you lack ambition, but because you realize that racing through today does not guarantee a better tomorrow. But stopping the rush leaves a profound silence in its wake. When the loud noise of urgency finally fades, you are forced to look at what truly matters. And this is where the next truth begins. Because a quiet life requires a completely new definition of meaning. 5. Redefining meaning through presence. What if you have been measuring the worth of your entire life with the wrong scale? Here is the truth few people want to face. We have confused being busy with being important, and we have mistaken being loud for being meaningful. We live in a society that worships scale. We are taught that a life only matters if it impacts thousands, if it breaks records, or if it disrupts the world. Because of this, when you look at the quiet rhythm of your own days, you feel a crushing sense of insignificance. You look at your simple routine, waking up, making your coffee, walking the same familiar street, doing your work, and resting. There are no dramatic plot twists. There is no massive audience applauding your existence. And in the silence of that realization, a quiet embarrassment creeps in. You ask yourself, is this all there is? You feel ashamed, believing that a life without grand, visible achievements is a wasted life. You believe that meaning is a heavy monument you must aggressively build for everyone to see. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us a profoundly different truth. Meaning is not found in the external accumulation of grand events, but in the deep quality of your attention. In Buddhism, the practice of mindfulness reveals that there are no ordinary moments, only ordinary levels of observation. We suffer because we constantly devalue the present reality, brushing past it while looking for a more impressive future. To an awakened mind, washing a single bowl with absolute presence is as sacred as giving a speech to thousands. Imagine a single candle burning quietly in a dark room. A massive, roaring bonfire outside might draw a massive crowd. It crackles loudly, throwing wild shadows and demanding attention from everyone who walks by. But it burns violently, and eventually it reduces everything to ash. The small candle inside does not make a sound. It does not draw a crowd. It simply exists, offering a steady, gentle light. It completely transforms the darkness of the room without needing to burn the house down. The candle is not embarrassed by the bonfire. It is whole, complete, and perfectly meaningful exactly where it is placed. Think about your own life. Think about how often you disregard the quiet, steady light of your daily existence. A quiet evening reading a book, the warmth of a shared meal, the feeling of stepping outside and feeling the wind against your face. You ignore these profound, beautiful moments because you are exhausted from looking for the bonfire of public success. You feel small because the world has convinced you that only loud lives matter. You miss the deep, quiet richness of your own existence because you are too embarrassed to simply be present in it. Ask yourself, does a beautiful moment only matter if someone else is watching it? Are you stripping the joy away from your own life by constantly demanding that it look like a movie? What if the quietness of your life is not a lack of meaning, but the very place where true meaning resides? Pause, breathe. Take one completely ordinary task today and give it your absolute attention. Feel the warm water on your hands. Watch the steam rise from your cup. Observe the physical sensation of walking. Let the simplicity of the action be entirely enough. Because meaning is not something you must desperately chase or frantically build. It is something you uncover the moment you decide to finally be here. But seeing the beauty in a quiet life is only one part of the awakening. Choosing to stay in that quietness, especially when the world demands noise, requires a completely different kind of strength. And this is where the next truth begins. Because walking away from the endless race takes a profound amount of bravery. What if the bravest thing you can ever do is simply refuse to run when the rest of the world is desperately sprinting? Here is a truth that is deeply misunderstood. Choosing a quiet life is not an act of surrender, it is an act of profound rebellion. We are constantly pressured to justify our existence. When you meet an old friend or attend a family gathering, the questions are always the same. You are asked what is next for you, what you are working on, and what your big plans are. When your answer is simple, when your reality is just going to work, resting, and enjoying the quiet mornings, you often see a flicker of disappointment in their eyes. They assume you lack ambition, they assume you are stuck. And in that moment, a hot, heavy embarrassment floods your chest. You feel an overwhelming urge to defend yourself, to invent a grand plan, or to exaggerate your busyness just to prove you are still moving. You fear that if you are not visibly striving, you will become entirely invisible. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us that true courage is rarely loud. In Buddhist thought, much of our suffering comes from being pushed and pulled by the shifting winds of praise and blame. We suffer because we attach our inner peace to the fleeting opinions of a deeply unsettled world. Buddhism reminds us that you do not need to conquer the external world to prove your worth. True strength is conquering your own craving for external validation. It takes immense bravery to step off the endless wheel of worldly ambition and softly say, "This is enough for me." Imagine a deeply rooted tree standing on a hill during a violent storm. The wind is chaotic, tearing through the air, aggressively demanding that everything move along with it. The loose leaves are ripped away and the debris is frantically swept into the sky. But the tree does not try to outrun the wind, nor does it uproot itself to join the chaos. It simply holds its ground. Its branches may sway, but its deep, silent roots remain entirely undisturbed deep within the earth. The tree is not embarrassed by its stillness while the storm rages. Its stillness is exactly what gives it life. Think about your own life. Think about the incredible amount of energy you waste trying to explain your quietness to people who are completely addicted to noise. You exhaust yourself trying to translate your inner peace into a language of hustle and ambition that the world can understand. You forget that you do not owe anyone a loud performance. You forget that a life lived gently, without a roaring crowd, is still a life deeply well lived. Ask yourself, are you living your life to nurture your own soul? Or are you living to be understood by people who are constantly running from themselves? What are you afraid will happen if you simply stop trying to prove your worth to a frantic world? Pause, breathe. The next time someone questions your simple routine, stop. You do not have to offer an impressive explanation. Let the silence sit there. Observe their expectation without absorbing it into your own heart. Do your part, then release the outcome. You do not need to apologize for moving at the speed of your own pace, because true strength is not proving how fast you can run. It is having the quiet courage to stand completely still when you realize you are already exactly where you need to be. But knowing this in your mind is very different from feeling it in your heart. To truly be free, you must finally put down the heavy weight you have been secretly holding. And this is where the next truth begins. Because beneath the defense of a quiet life is a profound embarrassment waiting to be let go. 7. Releasing the burden of embarrassment. What if the deep shame you feel about your quiet life does not actually belong to you at all? Here is a truth that can change the way you walk through the world. The embarrassment you carry, the quiet heat that rises in your chest when someone asks about your achievements, is an inherited burden. We are handed a heavy script the moment we enter the world. It tells us that a worthy life must be loud, constantly escalating, and highly visible. When your life is simple, slow, or ordinary, you feel a profound sense of failure. You carry this embarrassment like a heavy stone, hiding your true routine, apologizing for your lack of grand news, and shrinking yourself in rooms full of people who are desperately trying to be seen. You have convinced yourself that your quietness is a defect that needs to be fixed. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us that this embarrassment is rooted in the ego's painful attachment to an illusion. In Buddhist thought, the ego survives by comparing, measuring, and seeking validation from the outside world. The shame you feel is not a reflection of your actual worth. It is merely the ego panicking because it has no loud story to tell. Buddhism reminds us that when we attach our identity to external definitions of success, we invite suffering into our hearts. To let go of this embarrassment is to realize that you are not the story the world demands you to be. You are the quiet, unchanging awareness beneath the noise. Imagine a small boat moving through rough water. The boat is designed to float effortlessly, to rise and fall gently with the natural movement of the river. But the sailor has been convinced by the loud world that dragging a heavy iron anchor is a symbol of importance. So, the sailor drags this massive anchor through the water, slowing the boat down, causing the wood to groan and the waves to crash violently over the sides. The sailor feels embarrassed that the journey is so difficult, slow, and exhausting, but the anchor serves no real purpose. The moment the sailor realizes the anchor was given to them by a confused world, they can finally cut the rope. The boat instantly rises. It moves smoothly. The journey becomes peaceful again. Think about your own life. Think about the heavy anchor of societal expectation you drag into every conversation, every family dinner, and every silent night alone in your room. You exhaust yourself trying to defend the gentle pace of your days. You feel small because you are constantly holding onto a heavy burden of judgment that was never yours to carry. You forget that the people who judge your quietness are often drowning in their own rushing waters. You do not have to carry their anxiety for them. Ask yourself, what are you holding on to that is making your journey so heavy? What would happen if you simply stopped apologizing for the peaceful way you live? Is this embarrassment truly yours, or is it just the echo of a very noisy world? Pause. Breathe. The next time you feel the heat of shame rising because your life is not a loud spectacle, stop. Feel the emotion without fighting it, but do not let it become your identity. Let the feeling rise and pass like a dark cloud, drifting across a vast open sky. You do not have to explain your peace to anyone, because true freedom is not found by finally building a life the world applauds. It is found the moment you realize you never needed their applause in the first place, but simply dropping the weight is only making space. Now, you must learn how to fill that newly cleared space with true light. And this is where the next truth begins. Because a quiet life is profoundly rich, but only if you finally know how to look at it. 8. Finding joy in the ordinary. What if the happiness you are desperately waiting for is already hidden inside the days you are trying to rush through? Here is a quiet truth that breaks many hearts. We spend our entire lives waiting for the extraordinary. We believe joy only exists in massive milestones, the dream job, the perfect relationship, the distant vacation, the day we finally have enough money to rest. Because we are so focused on these rare, shining moments, we treat the rest of our lives as mere filler. We sleepwalk through our mornings. We scroll mindlessly through our quiet evenings. We endure the present, desperately hoping the future will finally bring us peace. And in doing so, we completely miss the life we are actually living. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that true joy is not found by hunting for extraordinary experiences, but by bringing an extraordinary level of presence to ordinary things. In Buddhism, the practice of mindfulness is the realization that the present moment is the only place life actually happens. When we constantly reject the mundane, ordinary aspects of our day, we create a deep sense of lack. We suffer because we believe something is missing, when in reality, it is only our attention that has wandered away. Imagine a person walking through a vast, beautiful forest, searching desperately for a rare, exotic bird they saw once in a book. They walk with their head down, frantically checking maps, frustrated, exhausted, and angry because the bird is nowhere to be found. But all around them, the trees are swaying in the wind. The sunlight is filtering gently through the leaves. Thousands of other birds are singing a complex, beautiful song. The forest is overflowing with life, but the traveler feels completely empty, entirely because they are only willing to see one specific kind of beauty. Think about your own life. Think about how often you treat your daily routine as a burden. You wake up, make your tea, and immediately your mind begins worrying about the future. You sit in your quiet room, but your mind is a storm of comparison, feeling embarrassed that your Tuesday is not as exciting as someone else's highlight reel. You wait for the weekend, you wait for the summer. You constantly wait for the external conditions to be perfect before you give yourself permission to feel alive. Ask yourself, how many ordinary, beautiful days have you completely thrown away because they did not feel special enough? What if the quiet, simple rhythm of your life is not a waiting room, but the actual destination? Pause. Breathe. Today, take one completely ordinary moment feeling the warmth of a mug in your hands, listening to the rain, or simply sitting in silence and experience it fully. Do not rush it. Do your part, then release the outcome. Let the simplicity of the moment fill you completely, without needing it to be anything more. Because joy is not a rare prize you must hunt down and capture. It is the quiet reward for finally paying attention. But opening your eyes to the beauty of the ordinary leads to the ultimate realization, and this is where the final truth begins. Because when you finally stop apologizing for your quiet life, you discover exactly how complete it has always been. 9. A quiet life is a complete life. What if you never had to apologize for the speed of your life ever again? Think back to that quiet, burning sense of embarrassment we spoke of at the beginning. That heavy, uncomfortable silence when someone asks you what is new, and your answer is simply the truth, that nothing loud or dramatic is happening. For so long, you have treated that quietness as a deeply held flaw, a glaring sign that you are falling behind in a world that never stops running. You have spent years carrying the exhaustion of trying to force your life to look like a grand performance. But through all of these lessons, we have uncovered a profound truth. The shame you felt was never actually yours. It was simply the heavy expectation of a deeply anxious world, desperately trying to pull you into its relentless storm. Buddhism reminds us that the ultimate goal of our existence is not to conquer the external world, but to conquer the illusion that the world needs to be conquered in the first place. The journey of letting go, releasing the imaginary timeline, putting down the mirror of comparison, and refusing to commit the hidden violence of rushing is not a series of steps designed to help you finally catch up. It is a profound, beautiful return to the present moment. It is the realization that your quiet life is not an empty room waiting to be filled with achievements. It is a vast, open sky, entirely complete exactly as it is. Imagine a bird that has lived its entire life inside a cage with the door wide open. For years, the bird sat on its perch, looking at the other birds frantically flying around the room, exhausting themselves, crashing into the walls, fighting aggressively to get higher. The bird felt deeply embarrassed that it was just sitting there, feeling the quiet breeze. But one day, the bird realizes it does not need to join the frantic, exhausting flight to prove it has wings. It can simply step out of the cage, rest on a quiet branch, and sing its own simple song. The quietness is not a failure of flight. It is the absolute freedom of choosing exactly where to rest. Think about your own life from this moment forward. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning without the heavy, invisible clock ticking in your mind. Imagine pouring your morning tea and simply watching the steam rise, feeling a deep, unwavering self-respect for the gentle rhythm of your days. When you finally stop fighting the natural pace of your own journey, the heavy anxiety loses its grip. You no longer feel the need to chase the fleeing shadows of what the world says you should be. You realize that a quiet life is not a lesser life, it is a profoundly grounded one. Ask yourself, are you finally ready to put down the heavy burden of having to be someone else's definition of successful? Are you ready to look at your simple, unhurried life and realize that it is already a masterpiece? Pause, breathe. Look closely at the life you have right now. You do not have to chase what is already leaving. You do not need to constantly build monuments just to prove you were here. Waking up, breathing deeply, acting with kindness, and resting quietly is a deeply meaningful existence. Let that sink in. Because true peace is not the final prize at the end of an exhausting race. It is the profound relief that washes over you the moment you realize you can simply stop running. If these lessons touched your heart, share this video with someone who may need a little more peace today. You can let go now.